Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Holistic Hatha Yoga. I am Kelsey, and I'm here to guide us through this week. Just checking in. How is everyone holding up? Holy cow, it's already May. It is already May. So that is just wild in general. Happy Beltane or whatever it is, something along those lines, I believe it's called. For May 1st, May Day, it's when you do the maypole in the pagan tradition, celebrating the return of spring and fertility and all the fun things. So, happy spring, everybody. I wanted to jump in this week and talk about some practical tips and tricks when it comes to your breathing practices. So, I was doing some reading with the Hatha Yoga Pradipika, which is a text of, it's kind of a compilation, I suppose, of several different ancient yogic texts, or I don't know if ancient's the right word, but um I would say like between 6th century and 15th century AD. I know that's a pretty large opening there or gap for timing, but I think that's pretty close to where like all these were gathered and then compiled into a larger book on yoga, essentially, on these practices. Because, again, yoga is thousands of years old. However, mostly it was all done through oral tradition, and you learned just from a local teacher, like your guru or whatever that you went and saw and you practiced with, and you did all the spiritual work with, and blah, blah, blah. That's how you learned how to do all of these things. It wasn't like a fitness class on every corner and whatever. Um, so in this book, it basically breaks down the traditional ways to do breathing practices, asanas, meditations, all sorts of stuff. Just basically anything that they could take from that oral tradition and put it into text. So I was reading that, and one of the verses had kind of caught my eye because it's something I feel like I talk about a lot here. And so I felt validated, that is for sure. But it was just basically talking about how the person who is practicing Hatha Yoga but isn't practicing Raja Yoga, and as we've discussed in previous episodes, that is the yoga of like the deep self or consciousness or oneness, God, spiritual life, whatever you want to call it. It's making your life an act of service, of love to all, really, to any divine being that also walks the earth. Um, and that's not meaning that you're a servant to everybody, but it means that you are here to serve in your right, in your part, and just as others are here to serve and help you as well. Because if you think about it, like, yes, we run around and we service people all day long, but like, there's also so many people that service us, I went and got my oil changed the other day. Like, thank goodness there is just literally a building with people in it waiting to change anyone's oil. Anyone's. Obviously, as long as you have money to pay them. But still, like, that's amazing. That's being of service. They're being of their, best service to people, for this day or whatever, where they are in life. Like, this is the best way I can help people at large today, and that's an amazing thing. Like your grocery store clerk or people at a gas station, like if the gas station was not open and you could not get fuel, you would probably have a lot of issues, if it wasn't just on demand whenever you wanted it. So again, just like yoga comes back to the idea of being our most aligned and highest version of ourself. And by highest, I don't mean like higher than thou. I just mean highest as in like you're working for your highest good, I like that we can use highest self and deepest self, and they mean almost the same thing. Because it's like if you go so high and so low at the same time, it's like eventually it comes full circle and they meet. It's like a wormhole almost, And so like you can't know the highest self without knowing the deepest self and vice versa. And then discovering in one wild moment that they're the same, it's all one and the same. But anyway, so if you're not doing your yoga practice so that your body can be the most healthy, so that you can continue to do everything that life requires of you, and I don't mean to say like everyone needs to be doing everything all the time, but this is part of yoga as far as living your dharma. I saw another thing recently where it was talking about something along the lines of like, your dharma is something that never leaves you, even without trying, and anything else that leaves, I'm really butchering this, like wasn't meant to stay anyway, basically. Or even like the things that you desperately try to hold on to, but they leave anyway, like those are not your dharma. That's not what you're supposed to be doing. And I say supposed to with loose terms, because again, what are we really supposed to do here other than just be kind and support one another and grow, Um, but, yeah, the idea that like your dharma will just consistently stick with you and keep popping up, and it'll be the thing that you're always doing. And it might be something really simple too, it might just be your sense of humor, or your the way that you care for others around you, or the way you make people feel, Maybe you make people feel really like light or seen or heard or whatever it is. Those things can be your dharma. It's not like, it doesn't have to be some big crazy action-packed movie of a dharma of like, I must, it doesn't have to be Frodo in the ring, like I must go on this epic adventure with this ring and destroy it for the good of the entire world or else we all perish. Like, it doesn't have to be that hardcore. However, it's important no matter what it is my point here, And your dharma is that thing that's consistently with you, even when you don't have to try or aren't trying for anything. It's just that thing that's still persistently there, And so I think, yeah, as long as we're working towards that and working with that and not being an asshole along the way, then you're doing a great job, So anyway, yeah, just to reiterate the idea that like all of these practices were made in mind of spirit first, human body second. You know what I mean? We're taking care of our spirit first and are aligning our energy, tapping into our energy, really turning on the entire human body as our source of mobility and being able to accomplish our mission in this life. So anyway, moving on from my tiny TED talk there. But But I wanted to move on into and talk about the about some pranayama that's very simple, very easy, very effective, and can be used at literally any time. So let's jump in. And I'm talking about the popular, or maybe you've never heard of it before, but maybe you have, I don't know. But Ujjayi breath. And or psychic breath also is what it kind of translates to. But Ujjayi breath is a breathing technique where we breathe with the throat um, somewhat restricted. So you're using your epiglottis to somewhat close the throat and make an almost like a hissing noise. Um, it's not a snore, because like a snore comes from your nose. This noise is coming from your throat. And so, and you kind of hold that restriction in your throat, both as you inhale and as you exhale. And so it does a few things. One, it slows down your breathing by quite a bit because like I've said, you're restricting that epiglottis muscle and that your trachea basically, and so you're making it a little bit smaller, so it takes a little bit longer for you to both fill and unfill the lungs. Um, and so in doing this, it creates a hissing noise. It creates this audible. Some people call it like an ocean sound, like if you put your ear to like a seashell or whatever. It sounds kind of like that. Um, and yeah, it's literally that simple. And it can be done seated. It can be done laying down in savasana or literally just laying down. It can be done while you're driving your car. It can be done literally anytime, anywhere, any place, which is why it's so great. Um, This is great for people with high blood pressure. If you want an easy way to lower that blood pressure, this is definitely a way to do it. That being said, if you have low pressure already, like low blood pressure, and it's like a medical issue for you, I would say like maybe sit this one out. Like maybe, or check your blood or check your heart rate first. And if you're at a normal level, if your blood pressure, sorry, not heart rate, but if your blood pressure is at a normal level, go right ahead. But if you're like already low and you are chronically low or something, don't practice it because it's just going to lower it even more. So, um, so there's a few different ways that you can do this. You can do it with just a simple your inhale and exhale while holding um, that trachea a little bit closed or restricted. Um, or you can introduce a breath retention or kumbhaka in Sanskrit, um, which is just holding the breath in or out for a moment. Um, a few moments, I guess, a couple counts, I would say. And then slowly bringing that inhale back in or slowly exhaling back out, wherever you are in that. So I don't know if you'll be able to hear me, but I will try and see if I can do this. Breathe just like a full inhale and a full exhale, doing the Ujjayi breath, and you can maybe hear just the slight, like, because it sounds like very slight hissing, so it'll sound, who knows how it will sound here on this microphone. But anyway, so let me try here. So I will exhale fully out first, and then I'm going to start the Ujjayi breath with my inhale. I am so sorry, but you could not hear the Ujjayi breathing in the audio, so I completely cut that out. So, on with the episode. But anyway, so you're just kind of closing the throat off a little bit, and you'll hear that air kind of hissing in your ears, and it creates this very lull, like like it. as the name reflects, psychic, like almost like a very transcendental state, where you just become very light. Yeah. So if you are driving and practicing this, maybe be careful. Be aware. Pay attention. Don't crash your vehicle. But if you are somewhere where you can just kind of relax, this is a great time to do it. And this is also great for using in meditation. So this can be a really helpful tool to use there because it can kind of bring yourself something to focus on. And then, yeah, the breath itself is it's very like cathartic. It's just very peaceful, and I don't know. You very quickly kind of tap into this psychic or other state, which is really nice because it kind of realigns you, recalibrates your energy, and brings you back to that sense of like present moment nowness, where like the time is now, the power is in the now, and that like you can just move forward and walk forward with confidence that everything is unfolding exactly as it should. Um, and so, yeah, Ujjayi Breath is just a very powerful, simple tool that I love because you can just use it anytime, anywhere, you know. You could literally be reading a book and try it. You could be stressed out and do 4 minutes of it and feel amazing after. Probably not euphoric if you're really stressed out, depending on what it is you're stressed out about. It's not like 4 minutes of breathing is going to go and fix your problems or change anything about your circumstances. However, it will change you energetically, and that will probably help to begin with. You know, anytime that we're in a heightened state of fight or flight, um, unless we truly are being chased by a tiger or need to make that quick move or quick decision or whatever, which, hint, hint, most of the time is not ever. Most of us are grateful and lucky enough to live where we can just, like, you're not walking outside and being afraid that a tiger is going to eat you or that something's going to happen immediately to you and that you're in imminent danger. I do say that from a point of gratefulness, for sure. For sure. But that being said, fight or flight almost never serves us in life at this point, other than like it lets us know, obviously, when we're uncomfortable. It's not to say it doesn't come with its own information, but to live in that state is not okay. We know this. We know that cortisol will wreak havoc on the body and create disease, especially in long periods of time. If you're stressed out for a day, so be it. But if you're stressed out for 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, 6 months, a year, whatever it may be, that can be dangerous. And so again, that's really the only reason why we're here, is to bring us back to our mission, our dharma, what's truly important to us, bring us back to our own personal alignment when we're making conscious choices and decisions, and work our lives from that point, you know. Um, and that's really the goal here. So yeah, I think with that, I'm going to wrap us up. I know the last few episodes have been long, guys, and so I'm just trying to keep this one bite-sized for us. So, yeah, I would love to hear if you practice Ujjayi, if what you feel afterwards or what effects it might have had for you. And if you want any more explanation on that, I will post. I see now, I've noticed that the Instagrams has allowed longer videos now. So maybe this also becomes a quick video. I'll just do a quick one of doing the Ujjayi breath. And you can kind of see, you really won't, that's the thing, I keep saying you'll be able to see, you really won't be able to see anything, and like, so you can really notice my throat closing, but like, probably not. But you might be able to hear it better, or it might make a little bit more sense, like putting all of the visual and the audio and all the things together, since we're not sitting in person like these practices were normally practiced and normally taught, as an in-person tradition. Unfortunately, in most of the yoga studios I've been in, not a single one has ever talked about this or taught it or anything. So, yeah, so here we are, just breaking the mold on the interwebs because, yeah, we don't have time. We don't have time to mess around, my friends. We've got to just move forward with the tools that we have and the means that we have. And in order for me to get the message of the true meaning of yoga to as many people as possible, this is, I feel like, the best mode. So, yeah, I will post a little video. It might be helpful. It might not be. So if it's not, I'm sorry. But I always aim for anything I create to be helpful, first and foremost. I want it to be a helpful nugget for you in some way, shape, or form. So give Ujjayi Breath a shot and let me know what you think. And yeah, put that in your little toolbox of ways to bring yourself back into a parasympathetic or uh, rest and digest nervous system balance. So, with that, happy breathing, happy meditating. And yeah, if you haven't already, feel free, go check out my website. I've got a couple audio meditations there, and they're just mantra meditations. And they are specifically repeating their designated mantra 108 times, which is the time that you get to get around an entire mala necklace. So it's a really good number for just a good energy reset. And although 108 might sound like a large number, it really, both of the meditations I think are around 10 minutes or less. So if you want to add a meditation practice into your life, but you're not quite sure how, or you don't enjoy the silence, give that a shot. My website is holistichthathayoga.com. And I said that like with a question mark. I was like, what is my website? But no, that is my website. And yeah, I'd love for you to check it out. So, other than that, you can reach out on Instagram. I'm at Holistic Hatha Yoga, and on YouTube at Holistic Hatha Yoga. So with that, I'm going to close out. One love, one light, my friends. Take care, and I will see you next week. Bye. Om Loka Samista Sukhino Bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om